Dumbledore once said, "Regret is my constant companion. Do not let it become yours." Whether you're 15, 50, or getting up to 100, no one should lead a life filled with regret. Rooted in feelings of self-blame and remorse, regrets can be an incredibly painful emotion that can consume us. With this in mind, people try to live with no regrets, but to live without regrets means to live life to the fullest and learn from mistakes. We all have things we regret doing or not doing. It's natural to be anxious about taking risks when our fears get the better of us. To help, here are 5 tips for living life without regrets. Simplify. Life can be full of twists, turns, and curveballs, and far from simple. We often overwhelm ourselves with what-if scenarios that stop us from taking risks. These what-if scenarios work in tune with our sense of self-preservation. Our brains create worst-case scenarios to protect us from potential threats. Unfortunately, this self-preservation habit has come to backfire, forcing many to overthink rather than live out their lives. In her article, Dealing with Worry-Based Fantasies and Daydreams, Psychology Today writer Amy Fry says, "We live out the agony in our imagination and make ourselves sick with worry in the process." According to Fry's, daydreams, mind wanderings, and fantasies have a powerful effect on physical and mental health. By envisioning worst-case scenarios, we experience genuine fear and panic when there is no real danger. Fry describes fantasizing as our virtual reality program, where our brains can't readily distinguish between real and imagined events. Instead of letting the what-ifs take over, simplify your fears and fantasies and ask yourself, is this dangerous? Or is it just new and unknown? Taking risks does not have to be scary if you look at what's in front of you and not solely at what's going through your head. Prioritize. You might think that prioritizing yourself is selfish, self-centered, or even narcissistic. But making yourself a priority shouldn't be seen like that, because you are a priority. You can make time for yourself and say no to things that make you uncomfortable or overwhelmed. Believe it or not, saying no and prioritizing yourself can be a form of self-care and compassion. Associate Professor of Educational Psychology at the University of Texas and pioneer in self-compassion research, Kristen Neff, says that self-compassion involves self-kindness and self-awareness, which means recognizing, accepting negative and positive feelings. It also means accepting that you can make mistakes. Studies affiliated with the University of California, Berkeley, and the Society for Personality and Social Psychology have found that taking a more compassionate approach to personal failure motivates you to improve yourself for the better. Meanwhile, mindfulness experts suggest we can feel better if we just take 10 minutes daily to practice self-kindness. So instead of ruminating over your mistakes or regrets, remind yourself that you're only human. Give yourself grace. You may have heard the phrase, give yourself grace and be kind. But were you also aware of how hard it can be to let go of your regrets and move on? After all, many people ruminate over regrets and think how perfect their life could be if they hadn't made that mistake. But making mistakes is a part of life and how we grow as individuals. We learn from our mistakes through self-compassion and kindness. You'll likely learn nothing by being hard on yourself 24/7. Research from 2015, taken from recalled regret experiences divulged online, suggested that regret can lead to personal growth if self-compassion is involved. According to the study, acceptance and self-forgiveness could help you learn from the experience rather than regret it. Another study in 2018 concluded that self-compassion could protect you from the potential health risks of regret, such as chronically high cortisol levels, depression, and even suicidal ideations. Instead of wallowing in your regret, be kind and think about what you can learn from the experience. You may be amazed at how positively your mistake can affect you. Go the distance, step by step. Benjamin Franklin once quipped, "Make haste slowly." It's great to have goals in life, but if you set them too high and out of reach, you may never reach them, leading to feelings of regret and self-blame. That's why setting appropriate and attainable goals and pacing yourself is crucial. Despite popular belief, life is not a race. Everyone has their own pace. In his mentalhealth.net article, The Art of Pacing, clinician and licensed psychologist Will Joel Friedman says that as much as human beings sometimes think they can tackle their desired goals in one fell swoop, or at least in reasonably short order, the world will just as often let you know that it ain't necessarily so. Excellent pacing breaks larger goals into several short-term, smaller ones and spreads the time for their completion over several hours, days, weeks, or months. So when you're feeling down on yourself or left behind in life, tell yourself, I'll be there someday. Try everything. Nobody learns without getting it wrong.